And we are here with Eric this week on this Thirsty Thursday D Shap in the morning. Welcome, Eric, from the maximum security prison in Cranston, Rhode Island. And how you doing, Mr. Eric?
Good morning, everybody. How you doing? I'm all right. How's everything going? How's everybody out there doing?
Great. So, what's the news in there this week?
Well, some things waiting on some bills to pass. We're waiting on the solitary confinement bill that they're trying to pass in the Rhode Island legislators. For guys for segregation and trying to stop solitary confinement. So that bill will be, once the bill goes into effect within, hopefully, fingers crossed, I think it's going to go into effect, it's going to pass in June. Guys that's 55 and older is not going to be able to go to segregation, and guys 22 and under. And if you are in segregation, it cannot keep you in seg for any more than 15 days at one time. And you'll have about 4 hours a day out of your cell and stuff like that. So that's good for the mental, and you'll be able to stay in your programs and your classes and all that stuff. And because before, the way they had it, now you can get up to a year in solitary confinement here. With only about an hour and a half, an hour out of your cell a day.
A year in solitary confinement?
Yes.
Why would they put someone in solitary confinement for a year, by the way?
Well, here I've seen them put guys in solitary confinement for a year with for like assault, drug trafficking, but 9 out of 10 times they don't even have any evidence. It's just they go on a word of somebody saying you're doing something. I've seen them put many guys in solitary confinement for a year for just somebody saying that they were bringing drugs in a facility or something to that effect, without any evidence to the contrary. So.
And the thing is, if they did that, I know that would mess with someone's head to be in the solitary confinement for a year.
Yeah.
That's harsh. Does a judge have to sign off on that before, if anybody goes in solitary confinement for a year?
No, absolutely not. It's based strictly on the control of the Department of Corrections as to who goes to segregation and for how long they go to segregation for.
Wow. That's
just the way things are. It's unfortunate, but I've done some time in solitary confinement myself. And it has eventually, after a while, it tends to take a toll on your mental health. I was a couple years ago, we was out here protesting for better conditions, vocational training programs, equality when it comes to racial disparities here at the DOC, and a few other things that we was protesting, the COVID lockdowns, because here it's like they're opportunists. If they see that, they can use a situation that's a legitimate situation, they try to use it to oppress us instead of, trying to go back to normalcy. They was trying to use it as a way to keep us locked in more after dealing with it and knowing that the pandemic was starting to die down and people was getting back to normalcy. So we did a protest in the yard. There was 66 of us, and then we went on a hunger strike. The whole building, guys, the kitchen workers quit their jobs. So in September 19th of 2021, they grabbed me out of the building, and they brought me to high securities, which is the Supermax, and they put me in segregation for 30 days over there. And while I was over there in solitary confinement for the 30 days, the lights stayed on for about 14 hours a day. There was a night light that was on in the cell. Even overnight, it stayed on. So I was suffering after a while, I started suffering from sleep deprivation. Even though I will block my eyes, I will wrap a towel around my eyes so that way I could get some REM sleep, so my circadian rhythm could try to kick in, and it just wasn't, I had to go to the doctors to put on some melatonin, and even with the melatonin I was taking, I still wasn't getting adequate sleep because that's a form of human torture. Imagine a night light on almost 18 hours a day, 14 to 18 hours a day. There's a night light on in your face. Even overnight, it's torturous.
So let me ask you a question. When you're in solitary confinement, is it just you in a room, or are you with other people in solitary confinement?
Well, in this building and in high security, it's only you in the cell by yourself. In medium security, intake service center, and I don't know how it is in the women's, but yeah, they're in the cell. You're in the cell by yourself. They have roommates over there, but over here you're in the cell by yourself.
And solitary confinement too, right?
Yeah, in high security, yeah, you're in solitary confinement over in maximum high security, and in maximum security, you're in solitary confinement in the cell by yourself, and then in the intake and in medium, they have bunkmates. They have somebody else in the cell with them while they're in solitary confinement.
Now, when you're in the cell in solitary confinement, how far are you away from the other prisoners? Like, can you speak to the other prisoners?
Well, when you come off for recreation, or if you yell out your door and you try to like talk out your cell, you're talking next door. You can talk to other guys, but you're basically out of general population. You're not part of the population. Like everything's going on, you're like separated from the population. And while they continue to, come out do their daily things, you're not entitled to visits. You're not entitled to use the phone. You don't have like before they started allowing us magazines, and maybe now they said they was going to allow us newspapers. They only get that for a little while, and then they stopped the newspapers. So now that we're in solitary confinement, your whole family, God forbid, your whole family could pass away. You wouldn't even know it. You know what I mean? Because you have no access to the outside world. You're in that cell. You're in a world within the world. And it's a whole different story. It's very isolating. You know what I mean? It's very, like I said, if you have to build up a strong mental. You have to have a strong mental capacity to try to deal with that, because think about it. You get stripped away from your children, your family, your loved ones. He can't call you. You can't contact them unless you write letters. And you're just in a cell 23 hours a day, almost 22 hours a day. On the weekends, you don't come up at all. On the weekends, they're in there for 48 hours. They don't give you any shower or recreation on the weekends.
Wow. That's amazing. So what happens when, actually speaking about what you said about loved ones passing away? What's the grieving process like for someone who has lost somebody? I mean, they can't go to the funeral, right? They can't. But do they have a chapel or a temple for people who are Jewish or people?
Yeah, they have somebody that comes to see you. See, I talked to I just had a talk probably about 4 or 5 months ago when my close cousin, one of my first cousins, passed away, and I couldn't reach out to my family because they had woke me up for using the phone. They was targeting me out of retaliation, so they brought me in, and they brought me in, and my Rika came up to the prison to tell me that my cousin had passed away. They didn't even allow her to visit, but I was locked in at the time, and there was no way for me to get in. I lost my phone restriction, my phone privileges, so there was no way for me to contact my family. So the chaplain came to see me. Rika got in touch with the chaplain. She came to see me. We sat down and we talked, and we had a conversation about that there is actually no services here for those that lose family members to actually grieve properly, have proper counseling, have proper access to, somebody to talk to and stuff like that. Like, she'll come, she'll give you the phone call, she'll get in touch with your family, but once she leaves, it's like you go back to the grieving process by yourself. And it's kind of tough.
Sure.
So she said she's working on some things to try to get us better grieving process, because she realized there's a problem there. There's something that needs to be done about a better grieving process, and how we need to be able to be allowed to grieve when our family members passed away. Like in me, I lost my mother, I lost my father since I've been there, and they were in separate states or across. My father was in another country, so I didn't get a chance to, say goodbye to any of my parents. So
right.
It's kind of, I'm still dealing with that. Like, once in a while, it hits me, and I'm still dealing with it. And I realize, I was telling Rika not too long ago, I was like, listen, I haven't really healed. or really fully grieve my mother, my father, because in here you have to continue, you have to take it on and put on that face, and you have to keep going because you're in a different environment where you can't show vulnerability all the time, so it's just this. It's a different type of place where you're at.
Sure.
So you have to put on the mask. Yeah, when you're in yourself, you get the grieving time, but that's not enough time to get over the death of a family member, of a parent or something like that. To that effect,
Exactly. I mean, yeah. You need sometimes months, even years. And it's like the grievance process for everybody is different. You know what I'm saying?
It's different. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just in here. It's like you have to put up the facade of carrying on. You have to put on a different face once you walk out of your cell because you're in a prison environment. It's not like you're surrounded by family members or loved ones that understands what you're going through and can help you through it. So
right.
You have to suppress the the process and keep pushing forward. So
sure.
It's tough, It's tough.
Sure.
The average person, I used to say to myself, if the average person went and I sat back and I said there were days that I would lay down and I didn't want to get up and face the day because it just was like there was a lot of things going on. My mother passed. I'm fighting with the system, with the courts. That I got judges, prosecutors that's trying to take my life. It was just a whole lot. You're coming into prison, you're losing everything you own. Friends that when you thought were friends wasn't there anymore. It was just like all of this you're dealing with all at once. You know what I mean? And it was tough. Like I'm not gonna lie to anybody, it's tough. But they say adversity builds character, and that's what gives me the ability now to come out on the other side as a stronger person. And I don't think there's nothing that I can't really take on or face. But I know the average person, if they don't build that type of mentality, because that's why suicide rates are high in prison. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people going through something like that would say, you know what? I'm not going to continue to live like this. I'm just going to call it quits.
Now, on another note, would your fellow prisoners, if they knew that someone was suicidal, would they try to help them, or are they compassionate in prison, or because you all turn to be family in prison, right? More or less, right?
Yeah, so amongst some guys, it's not like that with everybody. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like like a few months ago, there was a guy that didn't want. There was a kid, a young kid in here, an African kid. He's bisexual, but he didn't want nobody to know. So what he did was he came on to a guy that wasn't, and the guy, put him out there, exposed him. He was embarrassed about it, and he wanted to commit suicide. They put him on suicide watch because guys was making fun of him and all of this other stuff. I had a talk with him. I went to him, had a talk with him. I told him, listen, at the end of the day, you can't worry about what other people are going to say. You're going to like what you're going to like at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly. So, wow. Oh, are you still there? Okay. What happened here? Okay. So, don't know what happened. But anyway, D Shap in the morning went silent. Okay. So I guess we'll go with the entertainment news. Let me see if they'll call back. Hello? Okay. Hang on. All right. So we'll go with entertainment news now. That was Eric. If he calls back. But yeah, that's the true life story here. D Shap in the morning, what happens in the prison. So we'll get Eric back momentarily, maybe, I don't know, tomorrow or next week, because I'm doing a lot of stuff other than D Shap in the morning sometimes. So it's been crazy and stuff like that. All right, more to come on this fine Thursday edition here of D Shap in the morning. Entertainment news is next.